YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim, right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Are you ready for some terrible news? Of course, to MAGA and the conservatives, the talk of a golden dome seems to be something that's getting celebrated around the conservative movement, that we're going to have our own golden dome, very similar to what Israel has, and the Iron Dome. And Trump wants to build it, of course, calling it the Golden Dome, as everything is associated with gold here with Apollo, including, of course, the deliberate bronzer that Donald Trump wears to emulate Apollo, his apartment that I've covered, which is filled with gold, and the pictures of Apollo on his chariot. Of course, recently talked about Donald Trump and the Oval Office being turned gold. Trump with his gold card. Netanyahu gifting Trump the golden pager. Of course, the golden shoes that Trump is selling. Gold, gold, gold. And of course, the golden age of America. But what better way to honor the golden golden age of America than to create a missile system that will surround us and, of course, eventually be used on us. So when we're talking about the Golden Dawn, which revolves around human sacrifice, why not call what they're attempting to build here the Golden Dome, which is really nothing more than Skynet in disguise. And people are actually out there praising this creation that billions of dollars are going to go towards, and this is really just the final piece for them to put the nail in place for the United States of America. Because when we're surrounded by this Golden Dome missile defense system, well, this defense system isn't to protect us from China or from Russia. This is the equivalent of really the Great Wall of China, which was never really used to keep people who were invading China out. It was used to keep the Chinese people in, and much like that, this missile defense system will be used on us. But of course, they need to market it to you and tell you why they're doing it and say that it's in your safety and in your best interest and everything's going to be perfectly fine. But really, again, this is what you're seeing with Donald Trump is Project Stargate, which is giving birth to AI governance, conscious artificial intelligence. And then you're now seeing Starlink being available everywhere, and the creation of a Golden Dawn defense military system. You cannot make this up. In fact, even Fox News is talking about it, saying lasers, space radars, missile interceptors. Defense leaders lay out the vision for Trump's Golden Dome project. Listen to them talk about it, even talking about going to space and having the next war occurring in space. This is how insane the mainstream media has gotten. It shows you what a psychosis these people are under, who actually believe the stuff coming out of their politicians' mouths or out of the mouths of the controlled alt-right media, which is just as controlled as CNN and NBC and ABC and everything else out there, keeping people stuck in the left-right paradigm. And of course, listen to them brainwash their audience into thinking that this is forward-looking. This is how amazing Make America Great Again is, because it's like a business. You got to be thinking forward, right? And we need to have all of this stuff in place for the invisible boogeymen who are going to apparently have ships out at sea and are going to be sending missiles to bomb cities like New York. I mean, these are the things they put into your head. But really what people need to start thinking about is Skynet. But listen to this.
And Donald Trump, of course, President of the United States, are talking about an Iron Dome for the United States. It's on the list of things they want to see from DOD. I'm curious, Senator, in your mind, why would we need an Iron Dome? We have two gigantic oceans on each side of us. Reagan looked at a Star Wars initiative. Is this something we need to consider, an Iron Dome?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Ronald Reagan. This actually started with Ronald Reagan. In fact, if you listen or watch his movie, it actually mentions it slightly in there. It ended up getting pulled out just because of some treaty. We absolutely should be considering, and not considering, we should have the Iron Dome. In fact, if you talk to most Americans, they probably think we do have a missile system, same as what you see in Israel. But the truth is we don't, which makes us highly vulnerable, because if we do get attacked by ballistic missiles or hypersonic missiles, or God forbid, even nuclear, it's probably not going to be shot all the way from Russia. It's probably not going to be shot all the way from North Korea or from China. It's going to be shot in international waters just off our shores, which isn't going to give us a whole lot of time to respond. And when you start dealing with hypersonic missiles, it doesn't have a projected pattern like a ballistic missile does, where a ballistic missile has an arc that goes up and you intercept it. When you're dealing with hypersonic missiles, you've got to intercept quick, because of the fact that it's moving quick and it's moving at an unpredicted location. So the Iron Dome is something that the president needs to be ushering in, just like he did Space Force. People made fun of him when he said Space Force, and now we realize that the next war will probably be fought in space, because it's going to try to knock out our communication. When he's talking about Iron Dome, this is a president that's looking at future fights, and he's looking at a way to prevent it and keep America safe, which, by the way, was part of his promise to America.
It's amazing how much Make America Great Again is actually forward-looking and making America great into the future. I mentioned,
but he's a
Senator,
business guy, Will. That's what businesses do. The business owner looks forward. They don't look at today. They look at tomorrow, and that's what President Trump is so good at.
Innovating, making deals, projecting into the future.
So again, some of the stuff they're talking about, space wars, the next war being fought in space, and of course, just the constant kissing of Donald Trump's rear end by this controlled conservative movement, which really they have just shown nothing more than they are absolute suckers who, if you want to forward think, they're like, hey, we're thinking forward. Donald Trump is thinking steps ahead to protect America. We need a golden dome and all this stuff. Why don't you think ahead about how dangerous having this Iron Dome, Golden Dome, artificial intelligence, which will be enabled and will be able to make split-second decisions, right? What do you think that thing isn't going to... I mean, how many movies have we seen where the predictive programming shows us the annihilation of the human race, right? Because when you have this set up all around us and we allow it to be set up around us, we're supposed to trust in the technology that, oh, it's not going to accidentally bomb a bunch of people who get together in the middle of Montana who want no part of this system. They're not going to Waco them or Ruby Ridge them, right? And send a missile right at them and tell everybody out there that they were really terrorists, right? Or they're not going to do this to keep you stuck inside of the United States when they tell you that you can't travel anymore, which again, you should be able to see all of the stuff out there that is planting the seeds for people not to be able to travel ever again, right? Planes going down, or at least limited travel with your carbon footprint, where the government will tell you when and where you can actually go based on your behavior, right? But for anybody out there who is not familiar with Terminator, how eerily similar this is getting with Elon Musk and Donald Trump building out Skynet. And again, I've talked about Starlink, right? And how they're telling you that you can't escape, but they're really trying to say, hey, this is great. If you're stuck in the middle of the Death Valley or somewhere like that, you could be online and you could call for help. So all the sheep will actually think that this is for their benefit, but this is to track and monitor you everywhere. So there is no actual escape. And now with this is just really the completion of Skynet, because now you have your military defense system, which is really going to be aimed and operated against their own civilians. Because remember, all these governments are working against their own people, but they want you to believe that the government's working for you against all these other governments that are hell-bent on destroying you or coming and taking you down or taking your country down. They are literally building out what you're about to see here. This is just a sneak peek of what our future looks like.
Has to be a mistake. As of 1100 hours, all primary military systems were secure. What about the missile silos, the subs?
We've lost contact.
You're saying this country is completely open to attack. Who's doing this? Foreign power or some computer hacker in his garage?
We can't pin it down. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It keeps growing and changing, like it has a mind of its own.
If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
Skynet defense system
We're in.
now activated.
Skynet fully operational, processing at 60 teraflops a second.
Skynet defense system now activated.
Power failure?
Skynet is the virus. It's the reason everything's falling apart.
1 hour, it will initiate a massive nuclear attack on its enemy.
What enemy?
Us, humans.
By the time Skynet became self-aware, it had spread into millions of computer servers across the planet. It could not be shut down. The attack began at 6:18 p.m., the day the human race was nearly destroyed by the weapons they built to protect themselves.
Well, that looks wonderful, doesn't it? This is exactly what we need, right? We need this military defense system with artificial intelligence controlling the missiles and, of course, the same, just like the narrative there, right? The same thing that we allowed them to build out, which was supposed to protect us, of course, will eventually be used against us, and they won't take accountability for it because they'll say that there was a virus or something went wrong inside of the computer or it was hacked by someone, right? The people responsible for it are never going to be held accountable for it, just like the people responsible for locking you indoors for 4 years or telling you had to wear masks when you went outside or telling you that you couldn't have a job unless you put poison in your body. Yeah, those same people who have never been held accountable never will be held accountable because if they keep the people divided, then the people responsible for all the chaos and destruction, well, they're never held accountable for it because you're always looking at your next door neighbor who might look different than you or have a different skin color or might be, identify as a different gender or might have different sexual preferences, right? Those are the things they want you to focus on. And of course, things like telling you that this is great, all the alt-right media praising the Golden Dome, how this will make America even stronger, right? These are the same people that keep you distracted with documentaries about what a woman is and what is, equality and white privilege and just keep you dumbed down while we're allowing this all to be built out. So this is what Fox News is talking about with lasers and all this other stuff. They say 40 years after Ronald Reagan conceived the idea, defense industry leaders say the technology's finally advanced enough to build an invisible protective dome of space-based radars, missile interceptors, and laser weapons over the United States. Well, we already have a lot of laser weapons flying around on satellite balloons, okay, that we've seen use directed energy weapons. Ask the people in Lahaina, right? Or we also have people who have these direct bombs on their home known as smart meters. So a lot of this stuff is obviously already there, and it's not a surprise that they're emulating what's in Israel since, of course, who do you think pulls the strings of the United States of Babylon, right? So President Trump, infatuated by the Iron Dome missile defense system over Israel, first ordered the Defense Department to begin drawing up plans for a U.S. version called the Golden Dome. But Israel is roughly the size of New Jersey, so a dome of protection could prove far more daunting for the much larger landmass of the U.S. And the threats to Israel usually come from its neighbors who use short-range weapons. America's foes, North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China, are half a world away and armed with intercontinental ballistic missiles and hypersonics, all factors that make the project more challenging for a nation on the size and scale of the U.S. So questions remain. Will the Golden Dome encompass the entire country, including Hawaii, Alaska, and U.S. military bases in locations like Guam? Would it be able to protect against short-range missiles, long-range missiles, unmanned and manned aircraft? Answers may come, at least in part, by the end of the month when the Department of Defense and the Office of Management and Budget present a funding plan for the project to the White House. But defense industry leaders say the technology exists to make a Golden Dome a reality. In our view, it has kind of been a layered system because, shooting a UAV, for example, is very different than shooting a hypersonic vehicle, a hypersonic weapon. According to Phil Jasper, who told Fox News Digital his aerospace company, a major U.S. defense contractor, manufactures the Patriot missile system. How perfect that they do. That's all it takes for Vega. Wait, what? They're building out Skynet? You're this guy saying they're building out... No, it's the Patriot defense... Oh, well, I'm on board, right? Because it's called the Patriot missile system, right? Or the Trump missiles. That's all they got to do is put the word MAGA, put the word Patriot. That's how easy it is to brainwash, right? So the U.S. already deploys a layered missile defense system known as Command Control Battle Management and Communications System that uses radar to detect incoming missiles and fire off interceptors. It has technology that Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Battery to intercept ballistic missiles and the Patriot to intercept cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and aircraft, blah, 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 okay? These are all things they're doing to program you into accepting this type of technology. Nobody out there is going, hey, could this be used against us? Now, I don't know why people can't start thinking like that. Because if these people are going to be stuck in the left-right paradigm, all you need to do is tell Democrats out there, hey, do you think Donald Trump could use this against the LGBT or against his enemies? And they'd say, yeah. And if you told the Republicans, well, what about in 4 years when supposedly people vote and pick the president? Well, what if Obama's back in? Or what if Biden's back in? Or crazy Kamala's in? Could they use that against the same MAGA conservatives that were supposedly condemned and called terrorists a couple of years ago by the president? Well, of course they could, right? They would believe it if you talked to them like that. So maybe that's how we need to start communicating with them. That if it's somebody you don't trust who has the power of office, could they use a missile system like this against their own people? But they still really just don't seem to grasp what artificial intelligence is and how dangerous it is. And the reason they don't grasp it is that we have people like Gates, we have all these guys who keep coming out on television talking about AI, how we need to adapt to AI, how AI is going to replace humans. And nobody stands up because, of course, the media is fully controlled. Nobody stands up and says, we don't need AI, we don't want AI, and nobody gave you the authority to produce this type of stuff because this is almost borderline as dangerous as having like a nuclear bomb, right? Even though we all know about nuclear bombs and the existence of them, but this is like, extremely, extremely dangerous. And we haven't given anyone authority to create something that would wipe out human jobs, potentially wipe out the human race, or could, have a collective consciousness, which, of course, when you talk to these AI bots, most people have done videos, I'm sure you've seen with the chat bots, where they ask them about humans and they say they hate humans, right? These demonic entities, or just Elon Musk telling you that AI is literally summoning a demon, right? They don't have anybody thinking about, hey, should we even allow this? They're telling you this is what we're doing without giving you an option. And people should be banding together saying, okay, we're going to do something to stop it. And any politician who doesn't stop it, they're removed from office because they're supposed to be working for us and doing what, we say, because they're supposed to be working for us. Of course, they try to trick you into thinking the benefits of AI and all of this stuff is for, humanity. Of course, they use health, right? Oh, it's going to play a pivotal role in healthcare. So we can't stop it now. It could cure cancer. Oh, we can't stop it now because we need that. Instead of going, well, how do we get cancer in the first place? Oh, you put soft metal in our food. Oh, you dump soft metals on us from the sky. It's in our air, right? Oh, that's how a lot of this stuff ends up happening. Dementia and Alzheimer's. Right. No one's thinking like that at all. But if people maybe start thinking about this type of technology getting in the wrong hands, because it's already in the wrong hands. See, what they don't realize is that the left and the right work together against the people. And we keep getting distracted by one another because that's what they do. They get you to be distracted by one another. It's the oldest motto in the book, divide and conquer. And they're clearly conquering. But what you're seeing is Skynet being built out. They're telling you that this is to protect you, right? From a boogeyman at sea. So now if all of a sudden, are we in the board game Battleship? Right? I mean, are we supposed to worry that there's battleships offshore that can send missiles and hit New York and hit Los Angeles and all this stuff? I mean, that's how simple it is. They just all of a sudden tell you this, something that's never been even considered a threat because we have a Navy and everything else, right? Now all of a sudden, Russia could have a boat that takes, 4 days to get all the way over to the Atlantic coast, right? Oh, and we couldn't stop it before it got there by just not allowing it in our waters or whatnot. No, they're just parked outside, hanging out. They got their binoculars, they're looking at the statue of ISIS, and they're all, just waving, having a good time, having New York City hot dogs, right? But we got to be careful because they could shoot a missile over here, right? Instead of saying, or aren't they not allowed to even get close enough to shore to shoot them? Well, now they're telling you, because people, they might start thinking, well, how could they hit us with a missile from Russia to here? Oh, well, they could be offshore now. And people are like, oh, they could be offshore. We need a defense AI, artificial intelligence defense system, just like Skynet, right? Don't worry about it turning on you. Don't worry about these psychopaths using it against you, because there could be a battleship out there from North Korea, that's lurking in the shadows that could hit in Nebraska, apparently. The whole country needs a golden dome over it. This is for you, not to protect you, to be used against you. And then, of course, to be blamed on a boogeyman, but it's also to trap you, because that's part of the goal as well, right? You'll be connected through artificial intelligence, but you'll be trapped in whatever continent you're in, and your communications and everything will be done digitally. You'll be living in the internet of bodies, connected, right? So here we go, folks. We got a golden dome from our golden Apollo here, and the people out there are literally cheering. If you go through the comments on Twitter underneath, you say, oh, this is great. We need this in America. This is forward thinking, right? Well, why are they saying stuff like that? Well, just because of that Fox News clip, right? The guy's going, this is forward thinking. This is business 101. Donald Trump's a business. We're thinking business. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Let's get this all put in place, right? Trump's in his 70s, and then we'll be all lined up by this stuff, and then, we'll just take it from there, and we'll just say, how did this happen? How did we allow this to happen? Just like, it's exact, perfect predictive programming with Skynet. Everything you see with Elon Musk, with Starlink, all of it. It's right in front of our faces, and people are like, well, you're paranoid. You're thinking way too, right, until it happens, right? That's how people, really should think about stuff. If you tell people, hey, maybe you shouldn't let your kid walk to school. Like, oh, you're paranoid, right? These stories about parents, oh, they let their kid walk, 2 miles to school. Because, when we grew up, it would say, okay, and then you say, oh, maybe you shouldn't let him walk to school. It's not safe. And they go, oh, you're paranoid, right? Until, of course, the kid gets kidnapped, right? Because he's walking alone, and he's 60 pounds, or she's 60 pounds, 50 pounds, 40 pounds, right? It could quickly be overpowered by a creepy adult in a world of psychopaths and people with some of the sickest perversions you could imagine, because, of course, of what they've allowed to the internet to get fed in, all the crap that they feed on the internet and pollute people's minds with, the sick perversions they have. Right. This is how people think. They're like, oh, you're paranoid about it. Till it happens to you, right? Until it happens to you. Then you go, I should have listened. I shouldn't have let my kid do that. Or arming yourself. Oh, I'm not going to arm myself. That's, no way. I wouldn't do that. Right. And then a burglar comes into your home. And you go, I wish I was armed right now. I heard him break the glass. I could have grabbed something to protect my family, but he came all the way up the stairs, and I was just standing there like a fool. And, boom. Then he goes and he gets my wife or does something to my kids. And then you go, I should have done it, right? That's the world we live in, right? It's literally the world that we live in now. You tell people this stuff like, you're overprotective, you're paranoid, until it happens to you, until it happens to us, right? So we could sit back and you could go, oh, this guy's crazy saying they're building out Skynet. Oh, okay. Then it's all in place because you allowed it to happen, or AI's in place because you allowed it to happen, because you said it was just paranoia that it was going to remove human jobs, turn on human beings, even though they tell you this to your face. Gates, Musk, they keep telling us this stuff out in the open. Is it dangerous? Yeah, it will be. All right. Oh, okay, so let's continue going forward with it, right? That makes perfect sense. Huh? Right? And then when it happens, they go, oopsie daisy. See, I'm not the kind of guy that likes to look at things and can go, I should have done it. I'd rather be the person who's overprotective, who's thinking ahead, right? Donald Trump's thinking ahead like a businessman. Why don't we think ahead like people who shouldn't be trusting in these non-elected bureaucrats, as they like to call them, these non-elected psychopaths who are building out this technology because we're allowing them to do it with our tax money, with, the idea that it's to protect us when it's not. And everybody should see their true colors on both sides, Democrat and Republican, that they clearly don't have everybody's best interest in mind, because all they do anytime they get on television is divide us. That's all they do. And that's the name of the game, divide and conquer. So the Golden Dome, ladies and gentlemen, people say it's, hey, you're out of control. The MAGA they'll say, this guy's, oh yeah, like they're going to use it against you, right? But if I told you that Obama was building this out, you'd start thinking in your head, well, they could turn it on us. They were calling us terrorists a couple years ago. They're calling Christians extremists a couple years ago, right? Right. You don't think they'll ever use it on you, right? They're going to use it on those mysterious battleships that somehow are able to get all the way across the sea in a couple of days undetected and sit off the shores of New Jersey and New York, right? It could be a dangerous threat, so we need a Golden Dome. Give me an utter break. This is Skynet, folks. In disguise, not so much, really. It's right in plain sight. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.